Hey loves, and welcome back to my channel. So these are the materials that we'll be needing for this tutorial. I am Ijoma, so you will need your Ankara, your velvet, you will need your lining. I've added my soft gum to my lining. So first of all, we will do our pattern drafting. You also need a net, a fancy net if you have a fancy net, then back up and your bone. So this is my basic pattern. I have my chest line, my bust point, under bust, half length, blouse length, and allowance. So I want to draft this pattern, especially for the people that are coming across my channel for the first time. So we'll draft a corset blouse with a yoke. So first of all, I will mark my dart line. My nipple to nipple is 8 inches divided by 2, that is 4. So I will mark a straight line down. I'll mark the 4 inches down to the allowance line. So after that, I will go ahead and roll the dart line. So if your nipple to nipple, if you are doing this for a plus size, if nipple to nipple is 9, you will have to mark 4.5. Then you will mark the straight dart line down. So right now, I'll connect my dart line down to the blouse length and the allowance length. So after that, I will extend my chest line by 1 inch. But if you want your cleavage to cover, though you will still pleat your velvet on this, but if you want your cleavage to be covered, you will have to extend it by like 2 inches or at least 1.5. So I extended mine by just 1 inch. I am not busty. So from there, I will mark my yoke. This is just the simplest method. I like doing this the easy way. You will curve your yoke. So you can bring your yoke to, you can make it to be deep, or you can make it to be like just around that, to stop around the chest line, because this style you will still cover the bust area with your velvet. So after that, I will take out 1.5 on each side of this dart line. I will take out 1.5, that is from the under bust. Then you will mark a straight line down to the allowance line. That 1.5 line, you will connect it down to the allowance line. So after doing that, you will connect from that under bust to your bust point. You will curve it so that your bra cup shape can come out. This is just a simple method for a corset. So you connect it this way. Then you also repeat it on the other side. So after connecting this line, you will have to do your upper bust tightening. So for the upper bust tightening, I will take out 1 inch on each side of this dart line. 1 inch. At the under bust, I took out 1.5 inch on each side, but at the chest line, I took out 1 inch on each side, and then I connected it to the bust point. I don't know if you can understand what I am doing. So after that, you will come in by 0.5 at the bust point line, but I want to like cut out my neckline, my armhole line, so that what we are doing will be taking shape gradually. So I'll come in by 0.5 at the under bust, and at the chest line also you come in by 0.5 at the bust point, and at the chest line, and at the bust point. So our yoke was supposed to stop at this 0.5 line that I marked now. So I want to cut out my yoke. I will come in by 0.5. I will come in by like 0.5 before cutting out the curve of the yoke. This 0.5 will serve as the distance between the two bra cups. Like if you open the 0.5 up, it will be 1 inch, right? So after that, you will connect from your under bust to that area where you marked 0.5. Then for the side bra cup, I went in by 4.5. I went in by 4.5 inch. Then I connected from my under bust to that 4.5 inch line, and then I connected that line to my chest line. So our bra cups are out now. So this shaded part, this shaded dot line, I'll go ahead and cut them out. I don't need them, I'll cut them out. So after cutting it out, I will place my center piece on my side piece. This is my center piece. I'll place it on the side piece so that the back up area will overlap each other. This method is very easy. It's a very easy method for a corset. So you place the center piece to cover the back up area of the side piece. Then you will take your bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. You can add 1 inch or 1.5 inch seam allowance, but I am using 2 inches seam allowance. So I measured my waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then at the blouse length, I divided my hip by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance at the blouse length. My hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. So after that, I will connect my waistline to my bust line. Then I'll also connect the waistline to the blouse length. So after that, it depends on the type of basque shape you want this blouse to have. If you want it to have a triangular basque, you can do that. If you want it to just look curvy, you can just do that. So I went up by like 2 inches or 2.5, and then I curved the down part or the hemline of this blouse. Then I'll go ahead and cut out. So I want to add a bust dart to this blouse. So from the bust point line, you will come down by 1 inch. From the bust point line, you will come down by 1 inch, and then you will connect it to the nipple to nipple line, that area where you marked your dart line around the back up. So you can come down by 1.5 if you want, but I just wanted a 1 inch dart. You can make yours 1.5 if you want. So I will cut that out. So after cutting it out, you go ahead and cover it with your masking tape or your cello tape, but I don't have that for now, so I will use my candle gum to close it up. So after that, this is what you will have. So that is for the front. I have closed the side dart now, so I will use this bra cup for this corset. I'm using a bra cup for the bra cup pieces that I cut out, but if you want to cut the bra cup pieces on your wadding or on your pad, you can as well do that. So for the back part, I have marked my basic bodies. For the back part, I have my chest line, I have my half length, I have the full length and the allowance. The bust point and the under bust line are not needed for the blouse. So your chest line, your half length, the full length is just enough. So I marked my neckline for the back. The depth of the neckline is 2 inches, the wideness is 3 inches, and I also added a zipper allowance. So from that zipper allowance, you will come in by 4 inches. This 4 inches is your dart line, remember. So I marked 4 inches for my dart line, and it started from the chest line down to the full length. Then at the half length, I will take out 1/2 inch on each side of these darts. Had it been I was using a lace, had it been I was to add an eyelet or a lace to the back or a loop to the back, like had it been I wanted to tie it, I will not add these darts. Most of the time I don't use that for my back bodies, but I am adding a dart to this because I am using a zipper so that the fitting will be okay. So after doing that, I will mark my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then at the half length, you mark your waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch for the dart allowance, and then 2 inches for your normal seam allowance. So I will also mark my hip measurement plus 2 inches seam allowance. So after that, I will connect my waist to my bust, and then from the waist to the hip. So after doing that, you also come up by 2.5 at the hemline or 3 inches at the hemline, and then you will curve. So I am so tired at this point, guys. I've been sick for a while. I've not been feeling fine, so that's why I've not been posting. So I am done doing that. Right now I will go ahead and cut out. So I want to add a yoke to the back part. So from the chest line, I will cut out my yoke. From that line where I marked my chest line, I will cut out my yoke. I want a net to be my yoke at the back. I don't know if you understand. So I'll go ahead and cut out the yoke part, and I'll also open my dart. I want to cut out these darts. I don't know if you understand. You can pick your dart, but I want to cut out the dart on the pattern paper. So I will label my yoke and then I will cut it out. So from this part, I will cut out I'll cut out this part on a net, and the zipper allowance will reach the neckline of the back. It will reach the neckline, but if you don't want your zipper allowance to reach the neckline of the yoke, you can as well stop around the chest line. So I am cutting out my dart. So after cutting that out, I'll show you guys what I have for the back. So you can label the side and the center so that you will not get confused, and you can also draw an arrow so that you will know the upper part and the lower part of these back pieces, because you might get confused while joining. So I am done cutting out the front pieces. I added half an inch seam allowance around all my bracket pieces, the center piece. I want to join the center piece at the center, but if you want to cut out the center piece on fold, you can as well do that. So I also cut out the yoke of this blouse. I used a net for the yoke, and I have turned the yoke already. It is double because I don't want it to tear. So this is the yoke for the front. It is taking shape gradually. I will also cut out the velvet that I will join to this blouse. So this one is for the back. I have cut out my fabric and my lining. So we have the center and we also have the side. So I added half an inch around the dart area. I added half an inch seam allowance around the dart area. So I also cut out my yoke on my net. So if you are using a fancy net or a lace, you can use it for the yoke. So this is one piece of the yoke. I have turned the neckline of this one, and this is the remaining part. So you can see, I just want to show you guys how my yoke looks. So if you are cutting this out on a lace, it is fine. You can also use your velvet for this. If you are cutting it out on a lace, then you don't need to double your lace. You can use your bias to pipe it, and that is for the yoke part. So I will show you guys the length of the pieces that you cut out for the velvet that you pleat or you will join around the bust area. So I am using a black velvet for this. So the length is 26 and the wideness is 30 inches. So it is 26 by 30. I will gather it around the under bust of my bra cup. So I have two pieces here, one for the right side and the other one for the left side. So guys, I will upload the sewing video tomorrow, so do not forget to subscribe and click on notification bell so that once I upload the sewing video you will get notified. So this net right here is for the sleeve. Remember, the sleeve has a puffy side and it has a peplum side. So I doubled the net. I'm using a plain net for the sleeve. I doubled the net, so I have 4 here, 2 for one sleeve and 2 for the other one. So see you guys in my next video, and thanks for watching. Bye.